What's going on? My name is Dr. Anthony Robinson, also known as Dr. Motivate. So welcome back to the Motivate Institute. Today we are in day 7 of our series PMS, Power, Money, and Sex, the Formation of a Man. And this week we are going to be dealing with money, not just as something you earn, but as something that quietly shapes how you think, how you move, and how you see yourself as a man. And what I want to get into today is something that most men would never openly admit, even though it's something underneath a lot of their decisions, and that's the fear of not having enough. See, there's a certain kind of pressure that doesn't come from what's happening around you, but what you have convinced yourself could happen if things don't go the way you plan. It's not always loud, and it doesn't always show up in obvious ways, but it has a way of sitting in the background of your thinking and quietly influencing how you approach everything. You could be doing well on paper, handling your responsibilities, making progress, even building something that looks stable from the outside, and still carrying this underlying sense that none of it is as secure as it seems. And what makes it complicated is that this fear doesn't usually introduce itself as fear. It blends itself into what looks like responsibility, ambition, and discipline. So instead of questioning it, you justify it. You tell yourself that you're being wise, that you're staying focused, that you're doing what a man is supposed to do. And in many ways, that's true on the surface. But the problem is that the energy behind it is not coming from a place of clarity or purpose, but from a quiet urgency that never really turns off. And over time, that urgency starts to shape how you experience your own life. You begin to feel like slowing down is dangerous, like reset is something that you have to earn rather than something you need in order to function well. Even when things are going right, there's still this subtle tension that keeps you from fully settling into where you are. Because in your mind, things are already moving ahead to what could go wrong. It becomes difficult to enjoy progress because your attention is constantly being pulled toward maintaining it. And what's happening in those moments is that money is no longer just a resource that supports your life. It begins to feel like the thing holding your life together. And when that shift happens, your relationship with money changes. Instead of using it as a tool, you start depending on it as a form of security that it was never designed to provide at that level. That's where the pressure begins to increase, because now your sense of stability is tied to something that can and will fluctuate. The deeper issue is not the money itself, but the belief system attached to it. If somewhere along the way you internalize the idea that everything can fall apart at any moment, then it won't matter how much you build, because the foundation you're building on is already unstable. You'll keep moving, you'll keep striving, you'll keep accumulating, but there will always be a part of you that feels like you're trying to stay ahead of something instead of actually moving toward something meaningful. That kind of mindset has a way of affecting more than just your financial decisions. It begins to influence how present you are in your relationships, how you show up mentally, and how much peace you actually experience on a daily basis. You may still be accomplishing things, still checking boxes, still appearing strong from the outside, but internally, there's a constant calculation happening, a constant evaluation of whether what you have is enough to keep everything intact. And at some point, it becomes important to pause and really examine what's driving all of that movement. Not in a surface level way, but in an honest internal way that doesn't immediately justify itself. Because if the driving force is fear, then the outcome will always carry a certain weight to it, no matter how successful it looks. On the other hand, when a man begins to build from a place of clarity and groundedness, the experience of building changes. The work is still there, the responsibility is still there, but the internal pressure is different. That shift doesn't come from making more. It comes from confronting what you believe about what you have and what could happen if things change. When that belief starts to shift, the relationship with money begins to change as well. It moves back into its proper place as a tool and resource rather than something that defines your sense of security. And that allows you to operate with a level of steadiness that isn't constantly being disrupted by the fear of losing ground. So as you move through today, I want you to pay attention, not just to what you are doing, but to what's driving it. There's a difference between building from vision and reacting to fear. And if you don't slow down long enough to recognize which one is operating, you can spend a long time moving in ways that feel productive, but are actually being controlled by something you haven't addressed. This is the formation, and this is the work we are doing here at Motivate Institute. So until next time, I'll see you on day 8.